This week, I've been on vacation. We are on the island of Kauai, and we are in a 2024 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 4xe, the plug-in hybrid. About $60,000 of Jeep Wrangler here. The standard issue rental car for the Hawaiian Islands. You can easily point out all the tourists on the island because everyone's driving a Jeep, and all the locals drive Toyota Tacomas. But that said, this has been a fantastic rental vehicle. We have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder and a 17.3 kilowatt-hour battery pack, making a combined power output between the engine and the electric motor of 375 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque, about a 22 mile driving range in EV mode if you can find a charger, and about 20 mile per gallon fuel economy if you're just kind of driving it around without a charge. Let's walk you guys around this, talk about what it's been like to live with and rent this week. Turn it on here. We have about 16% state of charge, about 5 miles of an EV, so we'll do a little bit of EV driving in this. CarPlay's connected. Lots of off-road capability here. Didn't really find too many trails out here on the island of Kauai, but there is some stuff that we want to explore another time when we come back. This is our last day here. We're heading out in a couple hours. But you get a disconnectable front sway bar, front and rear locking diffs, an off-road plus mode, 2-high, 4-high auto, 4-high part-time, and then 4-low. Love this interior, easy to use. An updated Uconnect system, which has been really nice this week. It actually works really well. It's pretty responsive. CarPlay works nicely. We've got physical controls for climate, but haven't really used them because the windows have just been down the entire trip. Roof panels come off, doors come off, everything comes off. You guys know it's a Jeep Wrangler. 33-inch 275/70 R17 BFG KO2 tires. Quiet, comfortable. This week I've averaged about 22 miles to the gallon in this. Did charge it briefly at a charger in Hanalei, but otherwise mostly just been running on the gasoline engine in hybrid mode. Coming down the mountain, gained a little bit of charge. Turbocharged 4-cylinder is super loud on cold start. It almost sounds like something's wrong with it, but it's just a noisy engine. Not a lot of sound editing in that engine bay, which is a Jeep thing, you know, it's to be expected. The rest of this is all pretty standard stuff. Lots of cargo space. Got some 4xe stuff back there. I mean, I'm kind of surprised actually they have 4xe Rubicons in the rental fleets here. We just got this from Alamo, and they said, go pick your Jeep. So we did. Tows 3,500 pounds, about 1,700 pounds of payload capacity. Got a nice blue recovery hook right here. This still has the manually adjustable seats. This is not the Rubicon X, which is a little bit more expensive, but for around 55, 60 grand, maybe if the dealer's willing to work with you a little bit, it's a pretty good deal. We've got 3 powertrain modes here, hybrid, electric, and e-save. We'll put an e-save, let you hear what that 2-liter 4-cylinder is like. Kind of loud, kind of clattery. It is actually really nice though to have something like this as a rental vehicle on the island, because sometimes you want to go to the beach, see some scenery, pull off, and there's a bit of off-roading that you need to do to kind of do that sometimes, and you don't want to have to bash up your front bumper and make an insurance claim. So tons of ground clearance, good approach angles here with this Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. Let's hop behind the wheel and go for a little drive. All right, we'll just leave this in hybrid mode for now. And 2-high. Kind of noisy at lower speeds. Lots of electric sounds when you turn the wheel, engage the steering. Put our windows up so you guys can hear me talk. No forward-facing camera, just a reverse camera. Pretty quiet at speed too. From what I remember, this seems to be a little bit quieter going down the road than something like a Bronco. Just a slightly better noise isolation here with regards to wind. NVH seems to be about the same. It still handles like a Jeep. Steering is a little bit drunk, but you know, that's okay. It's comfortable enough, good ride. Lots of speed bumps here on the island of Kauai, especially near the resorts. You can hit them about 20, 25 miles an hour. One compression after the bump, and it's good to go. Settles down nicely. In EV mode, The 8-speed automatic is really smooth. You can barely feel shifts at all, unless you give it a little bit more throttle. Brake pedal can get kind of sensitive at lower speeds, but overall, driving dynamics here are really quite nice. You just have to really stay on top of the steering and make sure you're focused on what's ahead of you, because it's easy to kind of have this Jeep wander off in a direction that you didn't really intend it to. So it's an active, engaged driving experience. I'll just leave it at that. One thing I do like about the throttle tuning here with this hybrid powertrain is that when you're going down a hill, it'll actually activate just a little bit of regen off throttle, charge the battery slightly, and slow you down. And it'll sense when you're going down a hill. So you don't always have to be just kind of standing on the brakes, hovering over that brake pedal to slow down, or at least maintain your speed down a mountain pass or down a slope. So those 3 drive modes, we've got hybrid, electric, and e-save. E-save will actually charge the battery for you, which is kind of neat. It does use up more fuel, as you would expect, but if you want to have a little bit of a charge while you're going quicker on the highway, or and you want to be driving around town or in the resort or something on electric power, or maybe you're doing a little bit of off-roading and you want to just kind of off-road in pure peace and silence, this is a good way to do that. We'll go into full EV mode here. We'll wait for people. But it is a fun vehicle to drive. I've always said that the Jeep Wrangler is an engaging vehicle to drive just because, well, it feels a little bit old school and rudimentary and unrefined. That solid front axle makes for a pretty unique driving experience in a sea of otherwise very capable modern vehicles. This feels decidedly old school behind the wheel, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of refreshing in some ways. It's fun. You're always kind of having to pay attention to what you're doing, where you're going, how you're driving. I'm actually always shocked whenever I drive a Jeep how many people daily drive them. It's not necessarily a car that I'd want to live with as my only vehicle. It'd be a fun weekend vehicle, a fun, kind of vacation vehicle, but back in Michigan, people just daily drive them every single day. I guess you get used to it. I have really enjoyed this 4xe this week. There isn't really anything else like this. There's no vehicle that is a plug-in hybrid that you can take the roof off, that can go off-road. I mean, it really is in kind of a class of its own. And for that reason, I would actually consider owning one of these someday. Use values are pretty good. You can get one for mid-30s right now. That's a Wrangler 4xe Rubicon. Different trims like the Sahara you can get for even less. But considering that was a $60,000 vehicle, $60,000 vehicle when it's new, it's pretty good value. Power is pretty awesome. If you're in hybrid mode, you can make use of all that 375 horsepower. Yeah, and it's quick. In hybrid mode, engine's always kind of turning on and off, doing its thing. I found that I'd average about 21 miles to the gallon in hybrid mode. We've got a little bit extra in our combined trip here. 187.5 miles, we've averaged 22.2 mpg, and that's with a little bit of a charge. I think we were able to charge our battery up to about 50%, get about 16 miles out of it, driving around town. But everything does deplete pretty quickly in EV mode, just because this is not an efficient vehicle to drive around at all. And it is heavy. That battery, that 17.3 kilowatt hour battery, does add quite a bit of weight to this package. But overall, I think it's a nice driving experience. It's one of the better Jeeps to drive that I've spent time behind the wheel of. And I kind of like the fact that you can just drive it around quietly in EV mode most of the time if you have a charging solution at home. Adaptive cruise control works great. Super easy to change your following distances, your speed. No steering assist or anything like that. There might be lane centering or lane keep assist, but I pretty much left that off the whole time we've been out here. Visibility is good. Never been to Kauai before, mostly spent time on Maui, and briefly did a trip out to the Big Island with Toyota for the new Tacoma launch and the Grand Highlander first drive. That was pretty interesting. But again, I've been to Maui a couple times, and that's kind of, it's the island that I'm familiar with. I've driven the road to Hana a couple times. It's definitely a different experience here on the island of Kauai. There are limited roads, limited access to most of the island. Pretty much the only way to see the whole island is by helicopter, and we were able to get a helicopter tour early on in our trip, and it was just fantastic. I would highly recommend that. That's really the way to go if you're coming to the islands. It's the end of February, beginning of March right now while filming this, and winter season is still kind of, it's coming to an end, but the wind, the waves, the ocean's still pretty choppy right now. We weren't able to secure a boat tour while we were on this trip. It just kept getting canceled because of the waves, because of the wind. So I think ultimately, if you're coming here in the winter months, you're gonna probably just have to get a helicopter ride, and that's really the only way you're gonna be able to see the island, unless if you hike around and do some pretty strenuous stuff. There's quite a bit you can see on the west side of the island in the state park, but again, you're going to be wanting to hike through Waipea Canyon to see some more of it. There's some driving that you can do, some off-road trails and stuff like that. One of them which is pretty gnarly. I'm not sure I'd want to tackle it in a rental Jeep, but it probably could do it. If you own one of these 4xEs, there's probably a little bit of plug-in hybrid weirdness you'd have to deal with, especially if you live in a colder climate with, batteries not wanting to come up to temp or not wanting to go into electric mode if it's super cold. But for the most part, I think this would kind of be the ultimate Wrangler Rubicon to own, aside from the full-on 392, which is significantly more expensive, significantly more fun. But as a daily proposition, the plug-in hybrid aspect of this is really nice, and I think that would make for a really good vehicle to live with on a daily basis, and you save a little bit of gas in the process. But it's just a really nice driving experience. This is a really well-developed powertrain, really well-tuned, nicely refined. Kind of surprised at how well this drives, honestly, compared to some of the other plug-in hybrids that I've spent time in recently that are brand new vehicles, whereas this has been out for quite a few years already. I have heard that with these 4xEs, if you don't run the gasoline engine for a while and you're just kind of operating the vehicle on an electric charge for, I don't really know the mileage, but after a certain amount of time, it will kind of force you to turn on the engine, get it up to temp, drive it for a set distance, and just kind of get the fluids moving at full temperature so that you don't reduce your oil quality or anything long term if you're not putting a lot of gasoline internal combustion engine miles on the vehicle. But that's kind of something that I think a lot of plug-in hybrids force you into periodically. So it's just kind of a weird thing you might have to deal with every now and then. If you're hoping to use this as an EV full-time, that might not be completely realistic, but you can probably drive this as an EV most of the time while having to kind of periodically deal with some software stuff that Stellantis has engineered into this to kind of keep it reliable long-term. So that said, though, after driving this all week and only plugging it in once briefly, I'm actually surprised at that 22 mile per gallon fuel economy rating. I feel like in any other Jeep, just like the standard Pentastar V6, we'd probably be getting 14, 15, 16 miles to the gallon on this, maybe 18 if you're lucky. But with the big KO2 tires, the extra ground clearance here from the Rubicon, 21, 22 miles to the gallon in a Rubicon is very respectable. And especially having this amount of power, the refinement from the powertrain, the extra, kind of convenience of having EV capabilities, I think in a plug-in hybrid makes for a pretty nice option in this Wrangler. All right, let's switch to full electric, see what kind of acceleration we get here. Beyond 50%, I believe the gasoline engine kicks in. Yeah, so if you floor it and you need more power in electric mode, it'll come out of that and the engine will kick on to give you more acceleration. But then it'll stay in electric mode, the engine will turn right off. Hybrid, it just kind of operates in whatever parameters it sees fit. And then of course e-save, the engine is on all the time, actively charging the battery. Those are nice 3 distinct drive modes to kind of manage your internal combustion engine, your battery usage. Again, there is not a lot of battery range. We just got out of a Range Rover Sport that had, I think it was a 51 or 52 mile range out of its battery. And It was amazing. It just kept going and going and going and going, and it seemed like the mileage was pretty accurate to what you were seeing after a full charge. I mean, you could charge that thing, get up to 50 miles, and you drive about 40, 50 miles on that battery before it was empty, and that was really impressive. This Jeep, you know, you are really not going to be getting a lot of battery range out of it, but that's fine. It's just kind of, you know, you have to understand this isn't going to be the most efficient plug-in hybrid, but it is nice to have. It would be nice to get a little bit more range, but again, there's only so much you can do, so much space for a battery pack in something like this. All right, so right now we are in hybrid mode. Do not really have a lot of charge, pretty much ate all that up. But we're just gonna be driving at kind of a lower speed here back into the resort. And it's just so nice to have this as an EV that's not grumbling away at you super loud in the background. Honestly, after driving this all week, that right back there a couple minutes ago was just the first time I've gone full throttle in this Jeep. Speed limits on the island are so low that everyone just they just drive along casually, slowly, saves gas. It's, you know, it's island pace. It's just chill. Coming down from Waimea Canyon down the mountain, I think we gained about 9 or 10% of charge just with regenerative braking. That was pretty awesome. We just left it in hybrid mode, and it gained a bunch of range just from off throttle driving and just kind of maintaining your speed with the brakes. So that's kind of cool if you live in a mountainous environment. Not something we're going to experience back in Michigan, but kind of a unique thing out here in Hawaii. Going over some of these speed bumps. We're going to take this at 25. I'll show you what the suspension feels like. Honestly, it's a little bit more comfortable when you go the speed limit than if you slow down for them. But the suspension damping here feels really good. Did not drive this on any washboards. There was a road that we could have taken out to the beach on the west side of the island while we were staying out there. Kind of regret that I didn't do that, but overall, this drives great. The suspension feels pretty well tuned for the extra weight here with that 17.3 kilowatt hour battery pack. I really appreciate all the physical controls, the buttons in this interior. I mean, it's just such an easy vehicle to live with and use and operate. The drive modes, you know, on the side are really nice and simple to switch between on the fly. The adaptive cruise control, I like that you can choose between standard cruise control, old school, or adaptive with the press of these two sets of buttons right here. And in traffic, in the real world, I pretty much, because the speed limits are so low, I don't want to speed that much here. I've mostly just been living with the adaptive system, and it does a really nice job following traffic, coming down from speed. It's a great system to live with and use and operate. Answering, you know, hanging up phone calls over here, super easy there. Climate controls, even though I didn't really use them. And then, you know, you just got buttons for everything here, which is great. I think, you know, this is a great interior for 2024, 2025. We've got your screen, your tech, your CarPlay, all of your infotainment stuff here, but, you know, everything else is just easy to use and nice to operate. So Stellantis, Jeep, FCA, they've always done a really good job with that stuff. And this interior does feel really high quality too. All the switchgear, everything feels nice to touch and high quality. You feel like you're getting a nice interior for an American vehicle. All right, we're gonna wrap the video up here. Pulling into this parking lot, let's count the number of Toyota Tacomas. There's a lot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at that one. Oh, they are just everywhere. No wonder Toyota launched the Tacoma here. Or they launched it on a big island. 7, 8, probably missed a couple. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Just in one row. Like how easy this is to switch into 4-high auto too. That's nice. All right. Parking here. Brakes are a little touchy at lower speeds. Difficult to modulate, but steering is light. Little rental car review. Some thoughts on the Wrangler 4x8. It's been a couple years since we've driven one of these, and I've got to say, I actually enjoy the driving experience in this a lot more than I did when we had a press car a few years ago. So I think overall, just living with it, spending some more time behind the wheel, using it out here on the island of Kauai proved to be a real pleasure. So if you do rent a car out here, try to get a 4xe and get a Rubicon, and you can take it off-road a little bit. I did use the off-road capabilities of this once. There was a beach parking lot that had some pretty gnarly roots and dips and washouts, so it did get us closer parking in one situation with the ground clearance. I actually had to throw it in 4 auto to get through some stuff. It was kind of fun, but for the most part, you don't really need a Jeep out here. It is just nice to have, though, if you don't want to bash up your front bumper and have to explain something to the rental company later. I guess that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to fill this up, pack up the rest of our things, and head back to Detroit. Pretty long flight, and we'll bring you guys some more videos back in Michigan as spring begins to kind of occur here in the next few weeks. Wonderful. Now that is a view. Look at that. Just gorgeous.